Am I the asshole for driving my own car to work? I, female 21, share an apartment with two people. I am the only one who owns a car. I sometimes let my roommates use my car to run errands. Recently, I've been letting one of my roommates take the car to work because her job is a good ways from the apartment, while me and my other roommate work within walking distance. This morning when I got up for work, my roommate wasn't up yet. I knew she worked a closing shift, so I decided not to wake her and instead drive my car to the bakery I work at. About 15 minutes after I left, she woke up and immediately started throwing a fit, saying that I should have woken her up instead of taking the car and forcing her to come get it. She was apparently so angry, she took it out on our other roommate and all but forced her to call an Uber to go get the car, instead of walking the 11 minutes to my bakery. I'm not allowed to look at my phone while at work, so I didn't know any of this until my lunch break, when my other roommate told me. Am I the asshole for driving my own car to work?
Well, I don't know how you can be an asshole driving your own car in your own property to work. What you might be accused of is, if the system has been in place and is in place, is just being a little inconsiderate, I guess, to your roommates. But the whole situation sounds precarious, that you lend your car out to somebody to use, but then does it just become an expectation? I can take your car whenever I want. Now it's starting to become my car. Now resentments are building. So I think, there needs to be a discussion where they can freely talk about, what's going to happen moving forward with their car, their jobs, and how they're going to get there. I mean, maybe they need to discuss more prior, the night before or something like that, but it's your job. You have to go there. She wasn't up. I don't think you're the asshole for using your own property.
Well, here are my thoughts on this one.
Yeah.
When you give from a place of abundance and your friend responds with entitlement, they're showing you that they don't see your friendship as a give and take, but instead just a take. I mean, it's all about extraction, not exchange. And that's not a healthy dynamic to establish up front. Because she kind of set this dynamic, and by the way, it wasn't that long, as I read to you. I think it's only, a month or two that this has been happening. Once you set that in motion, then people start just feeling entitled to what you have. OP's reaction is justified to be shocked by all this, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that she should tell her roommate that she's realized that lending her car out has created some unexpected tension. And in order to keep their friendship healthy, she's going to stop lending it out for a while, just to keep the peace. I actually can relate to this story. I had something similar to this. When I first moved out to LA, shortly after I did, a couple of my friends were calling me all the time and asking me, hey, what's it like out there? Should I consider moving? And I admit, I kind of sold it to a couple of friends. I was like, hey, it's great. I mean, if you don't want to shovel snow, you're going to love this place. And, because we're younger, everybody's like thinking about the possibilities and showbiz and everything. So I got a couple of people to come out here. And one of those was my then best friend. And one of the things he made me do was promise him that if he came out, I would agree to lend him my car from time to time to run errands, to do like one or two things outside of that. I guess like he said, what if I meet a girl and I want to take her on a date? I'm like, hey, that's okay. I'm sure we can work it out. Mm-hmm. But once he came out here and I gave him that opportunity, he just started like keeping it way longer than he said, mm-hmm. and driving pretty far distances and not even really filling it up with gas. So I really took that as an insult. I felt like, wow, you took advantage of me here. So what did I do? Because of course I'm younger and immature. I start doing the whole, I can't lend it to you today because I have to do this. I have to this school errand, this work errand, this or that. And so I pretty much withdrew it and was very passive aggressive about it, to the point where he got really mad at me and was just like, dude, you agreed that you would lend me your car. And that is true. I did agree. And consequently, it did create a rift between us. And I really didn't know how to handle it. I mean, I eventually just said, listen, I can drive you here, I can drive you there. But, it's just rough, because once you have given somebody that freedom, in a sense, it's hard to just take it back from them.
I mean, LA too. I mean, if you're coming out to LA, you need a car.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I mean, maybe I'll let you borrow it here and there for the first, couple of months, but you need to get a car or you're going to have to learn the bus system. They have public transpo. I'm sure they have public transpo where OP is coming from. When you're talking about entitlement and just feeling entitled to something, just because I guess you got used to it. But I mean, yeah, in your situation, you were being very kind in letting them use your car. But yes, eventually you have to get your own stuff and make your own way. You can't rely on everybody, especially in a town like Los Angeles. You're going to have to find your own way. You're going to have to get your own car. You're going to have to figure out your own jobs. Not everybody's going to be able to accommodate everybody's schedule here and there. So it's, you know, it's on you.
Totally agree. Let me read you a comment because this is something that we haven't even considered yet. If someone regularly uses your car, they have to be on your insurance policy as an authorized driver, and you have to pay extra for that. If she is at fault in an accident, you will have to pay the other person's damages because insurance will deny the claim. It's not just her entitlement and tantrum, it's the expense and extra mileage on your car. So, I mean, that's another thing like that. I do think that they give you a discount, if I'm not mistaken, if you're a married couple. I think that insurance lowers your rate a little bit, but if you're just adding a roommate or a friend onto the car, I think they raise the rate because they're like, who is this person to you? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know exactly how the insurance laws or whatever work, but I mean, like you can lend your car to somebody and your friend could get in an accident and your car should be covered. But I would think that like you wouldn't have to necessarily put somebody on your policy. If you do, and if you did, then yes, that's another perk this roommate is getting or your friend is getting. If you're going to take somebody's help, if you're going to ask a favor of somebody, but then you're going to repay that favor back with an empty gas tank, food wrappers all over the floor. I mean, you know, then I don't know. Like you said, the friendship doesn't seem to be going both ways.
You triggered a thought, which is if they're not even going to put enough gas back into the car, then if they did get into an accident, they would just walk away from it because they'd be like, oh, I can't pay for any damages. I couldn't even put gas in the car, obviously. If you're in the insurance game, leave us a comment letting me know, do you need to add somebody to your policy and how much more is it? Because we're just reading comments that are left here on the story. We don't know if they're true, you know. But one last thing I'll say is that, you know, OP shouldn't just wait for the roommate to agree with her on anything here, you know, because if she is an entitled person, entitled people rarely have an aha moment about their behavior, especially when they're losing access to something like a car. So OP, your peace of mind is not dependent on your roommate realizing that she was wrong in this situation. You just have to let that go. You just have to say your piece and let the chips fall where they may. Because I think the more you concede and kind of like give into a demand like this, like let's just say she says, I'm sorry. I should not have driven my own car to work and made you walk 11 minutes. That's going to be a whole different story. I always say this to friends. I say, you know, when there's certain moments that seem like ultimatums, when someone says to you, like where a big moment happens, you say, you have to do this for me. Otherwise, we can't be friends. If you give into that moment, then forever that person has something on you. I've seen it too many times, especially in like early relationships where friends of mine, the girlfriend laid down a very specific statement. And one of them in this, I can think of one example where she's just like, we're not going to keep dating anymore unless you propose to me in the next 2 months. And he's just like, whoa, like I wasn't even thinking about that yet. We're still getting to know each other. But now he's having to like be forced to think about it. And the moment he went out and bought exactly what she wanted, which put him into debt at the time, she's always going to have him. And that's unfortunately the case in that relationship where anytime they get into a disagreement, she's just louder, she's more dramatic, and she just will not back down until he eventually does.
Most times you give somebody an ultimatum, and just the fact that you're getting an ultimatum from somebody makes you just go the other way. Back to the OP and the question, and even in your instance too, I would guess that just like you, when you were young, you were a little bit, you know, immature and not as evolved in your way of thinking and your way of dealing with issues with your roommates or with your friends. I would think that they probably have that same thing going on, and that unfortunately these are the life lessons, these are the learnings that we receive, and hopefully they can take these forward and then deal with it in more of an evolved way, I guess.
Well said.